Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know what I'm about. So let's get into it. So yesterday I was making a video, and during that video, I remembered the power of femininity. And I had done a couple of videos about this way long time ago, but I hadn't done one recently, and I just thought, wow, I should probably go back and rehash that and talk about how awesome femininity really is to the woman that has mastered it. Now, if you've been hanging out on my channel, you know I talk about three distinct personalities, right? So the very first one is the instinct type, okay? And with the instinct type, you're basically dealing with a person that's a go-getter, they're action-oriented, okay? Nothing really bothers them or, frightens them, and they're just able to push forward, through almost any situation. Right after that, you actually have a thinking type, right? And the thinking types, basically, they tend to be extremely intelligent, but they can also get caught in their head. And they're also fiercely loyal. And then the final type is the heart type. And the heart type is known to be very emotional, very loving, very kind, okay? And, also very romantic, passionate, all those types of things. So when we start to use the term femininity and masculinity, if we actually put everything in a row, right? So we put the heart types up, then we put the thinking, then we put the instinct, we would get this gradient of traits that basically starts in femininity and it slowly moves towards masculinity. And one of the things that I've always told you all is that most people are actually thinking type. That is the most common type of person. And when you see the fact that they're in the middle, it makes sense. It's very logical that most people would be in the middle, right? However, most women can lean themselves into more feminine ways, and many men can lean themselves into masculine ways, all right? Now, in order to talk about femininity, I need to talk a little bit about masculinity, okay? And that'll let you all know why femininity is truly the superpower that can tame masculinity. And I know for a lot of women, they're probably like real curious now, like, okay, how does this happen? All right, so it's simple. In order for a man to become more instinct driven, i.e. more masculine, in our world, what he has to do is he has to cut his emotions off. The more emotional he is, okay, the more difficult it is for him to make hard decisions. Because see, a decision is hard because you're concerned about it. Because you're concerned about all the different things and all the different ways and all the people it can affect. Okay, and see, that's what causes thinkers to kind of get stuck, because they're trying to go down every single avenue to try to figure out, okay, what is the best scenario? But it also makes them very smart because they've actually spent time thinking about all of these things, right? But when you're instinct driven, you are action driven. So you have to figure it out. And like I used to say to people all the time, most instinct driven people are the type of people, not all of them, but many of them, you could literally, they'll get an idea and it is the equivalent of them being kicked off of a 100-story building or a 100-story cliff, and they will figure out how to do this thing before they hit the bottom. In that 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it would be, hypothetically speaking, they will figure out a solution. When you look at most, like I say, movies, when you're dealing with like a captain, you're dealing with a heavy-duty, instinct-driven man or woman, in certain situations, right? Because they have to make hardcore decisions right now that are life or death. All right. But if you're in the heart type, it's hard for heart types to make those decisions because they care about the people. They care about the literal person. Where an instinct-driven person is saying, I'm looking at the whole. The heart person is looking at the individual, right? You kind of understand how this is working, right? So when boys are little, and there's been a lot of controversy over this over the last years, And I've been saying for a while, I wish that, a lot of these people, especially in the educational system and the government, would stay out of the average person's business. I'm just being honest. I really think a lot of our problems today stem from the government and the educational system trying to step in. But generally speaking, like I said, when you are a boy growing up, and most of the, men that are following, watching right now, probably remember this, especially if they had a good dad at home and they might have been 3 years old and they might have failed and they might have hurt themselves. And then before the mom could come in and grab them, dad said, "Boy, get up. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Walk it off. And you better not cry. Better not cry." So what ends up happening is that the boys learn that showing emotion will not help them. In fact, it will actually get them more punishment than actually trying to ignore their emotion. And so as boys get older, this gets preached more and more. When you're in boys' sports, it gets preached more and more. You can't be emotional. Okay, you have to forget that. We got another play to go. We got another 15 minutes on the clock. We got to do this. We got to do that. No matter what you just did, get over it. Because now we have to continue. If they go to the army, it's the same way. Somebody's best friend might have just got shot. Don't matter. You got to get over it, or you might be the next one shot. Okay, you have to cut your emotions off. And because of that, men deal with a lot of emotional issues. And I'm not saying that they don't. Okay. But that is that leaning into masculinity. So there's a healthy balance of being in control of your emotions without your emotions in control of you, without you suppressing them too much, without you having them too much on the surface. And so that healthy balance is really a difficult thing for men to manage. And that's why so many people are talking about it now. But what we see almost in every situation is that as people move toward deep instinct energy, i.e. masculine energy, there's always this situation where their emotions are now covered and buried and put in basically a safe and locked away, right? So on the opposite side, you have the heart types, all right? And if anybody can be exactly opposite of the instinct type, it is the heart type. And see, the heart type is full of emotion. That's what defines them. These people, they walk and live emotion. Everything is emotional. Okay? They tend to be your artists. They tend to be your creatives. They tend to, this is why women want to decorate all the time. And then after they decorated their whole house 2 years ago, they want to do it again. Because now they have another creative energy. It's all this emotion, because see, that's what emotion is. Emotion is this desire within the body to experience life. People that are, have this energy, they want to travel, they want to see things, they want to, experience things because they always want their emotions engaged. Okay? And they want their senses engaged because that's a part of the emotions, because the senses feed the emotion. And when I've talked about, heart types, I've said their one Achilles heel is the fact that many of them, because they're so attached to their senses, okay, a lot of times when they're bored, they'll just eat, right? Okay, or when they're sad or something like that. But again, this video is not about that. So how do these people have strength over, the instinct types? And the answer is pretty simple. Remember, your instinct type man has buried his heart. His heart is wounded. It's in a lot of pain. Okay, he's never been able to fully express it. He's never been able to live and have that fully fulfilled. So now you have this woman, generally speaking, who is really far over in this feminine energy, and all she's filled with is emotion. And so now she comes into this instinct-driven man's life, and what she does is she's able, because she has so much emotion, it's like she's lighting up his life. And she's able to navigate and find his heart. And if she's a smart woman, she finds it, she nurtures it, she loves it, back to its full brightness, right? And by doing that, it gives her this direct path into him. And she's able to do for him more than any other woman could do. And she's able to do it because she is so romantic, because she is so emotional, because she's experiencing things. She's living a part of life that he could never experience, that he could never fulfill on his own, if this makes sense. It's like if both of them watch a sad movie, the feminine woman might be crying at the end. The man might want to cry, but he can't really cry. He's still buried, his heart is still buried under all this stuff. But through his wife, because remember, the two become one, right? So you got two and then they become one. So now through his wife, he's able to experience that emotion through her because she's a part of him. Does this starting to make sense now? So it allows him to become complete. And it allows her in some ways to become complete because her emotions and worried about every little thing, now he can cover that and he can take care of it. Because another problem that a lot of heart types, get themselves involved in is they don't know how to say no to people because they love people so much that they always want to help them and do things for them and stuff like that. Where an instinct-driven person comes in, instinct-driven man, he comes in and he's like, no, you're not going to do this with my wife. No, you're not going to do that. No. And through that, the heart woman is free because all of those emotional ties are actually tying her down. And so he actually comes in and he snips them from her and he allows, her to be free. And this is how that feminine woman can come in and be so powerful in this man's life. Now, there's other really great things about being feminine. Don't get me wrong. Okay. And I think a lot of people have talked about that. But I think people forget the fact that the heart of men, especially instinct-driven men, is in a certain state. And that state has to be, taken care of a certain way. Now, thinking-based people, I don't want you all to feel left out because, like I said, you are actually the most common person out here, but you're also the most sought after. As crazy as it sounds, you're the most sought after. And the reason why you're the most sought after is because you tend to be very well-rounded. Because you're in the middle, you generally have a little bit of everything. So most people get along with you. And most people generally like you. And it's just about the combination of the things that you're carrying that allows you to go down one road or another. So if you're a thinking-based woman, I would encourage you to kind of lean into the more feminine traits and try to adopt as many of them as you possibly can. And then if you're a thinking-based man, I would encourage you to adopt, some of the traits of the instinct-based man. Not all on either side, but just a little bit more, because I do think that will help you. Because thinking men that are leaning more towards heart, they generally have a little bit harder time. And thinking-based women that lean more towards instinct-driven also tend to have a little bit more difficult time. But as in every single thing, everything out here in life is about who you are picking. All right? And I know people don't like that. People don't think that they have the power over that. But I've always said everyone has the power. Even if a man is supposed to be the first to say hello, that does not mean that the woman has to select him. All right? And vice versa. The man doesn't have to necessarily select her after she says hello. So no matter what the situation is, we all have a choice. We can put ourselves in places where we're going to talk to a certain type of person, here, there, and everywhere. And all of us do it, whether we try to do it or not. And that's why the biggest thing I always encourage introverts to do is to find a couple of activities that will get you out of the house, okay, so that you can find your person. Because like I said, Amazon does not deliver men. Anyway, hope this helped. Again, I hadn't talked about this in a while, so please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.